Greetings friends, welcome to another review from Fanboys Forever. Jared here, and today I'm going to be having a look at the brand new Lanard 6-inch Alien Warrior figure from the Aliens film from 1986. Of course, this movie is a very near and dear film to my heart, and what I firmly consider to be one of the greatest action films of all time. So let's go ahead and let's see if Lanard, at their budget price, could do this film justice with their Alien Warrior figure. It's worth noting that the packaging is practically the same for all three releases in this series. You can see that the color scheme is very indicative of those early 90s Dark Horse comics with all of those bright greens and blues, and I think it just looks really great. It just says Xenomorph on the front. These are exactly the same on the front for each of the releases, and then over here it continues as well, and on the back we actually have a specific product shot, which is the only thing that's different about the packaging for each release. You can see that it highlights the accessories. There's even a write-up about what the Xenomorphs are. And I really like this, which is something that seems very funny to me in tongue-in-cheek, get to know your Xenomorph, where they talk about the life cycle of the creature. I think right away we should get a few points out of the way. Number one, this is not a collector-priced action figure. Instead, this is intended to be like a mass-market toy. It's a Walmart exclusive, and it's certainly meant to be something that younger fans could enjoy as well as adult collectors. And it is priced at only $10. This is for a 6-inch scaled figure. And if you don't believe me, have a look. Here's a Marvel Legend. Boom, the thing is even a little taller than a basic Marvel Legend. So for half the price of many 6-inch scaled lines, you're getting this really nice sculpt. And speaking of sculpt, let's get right into it. So with the Xenomorph Warrior from the Aliens film from '86, there are lots of new details going on that are quite different than the actual original big chap alien from that first film. There's all kinds of crazy ridges on the head up here, and there's just lots more tubing and things going around the face. The face in itself is just a lot more kind of exoskeleton-like and a little more aggressive. So I've always really loved how they've kind of expanded on that design. Of course, I don't really think you can improve on that original big chap design. I kind of think it's perfection, but I really do like these as more of kind of your generic soldiers. You also have these big ridges now that are on the sides of the arms, and they really make a difference in terms of that aggression. It almost looks like they're wielding these giant knives outside of their arms, which is just really cool. You can also see that the tail is different for the warriors. No longer do they have kind of the knives on the end, but instead it's just segmented all the way through. So it is really cool that they do honor all of these little differences on the sculpt compared to the original big chap here. And if you want to see a review of that, of course, we have it up. So it just looks really terrific and I think very accurate. We can see that we have all that same sculpting from the alien drone, or big chap as I like to call him back there. And we can see that we have the ribs, all the tubing, all the vents on the arms, going on down to the legs, even have the feet sculpted very well and accurately. Even the bottoms don't leave anything to chance. On the back, we can see that we have kind of the spinal column that goes all the way up and meets down at the tail very nicely. We can see that we have kind of these almost like trumpet horns. I've always thought they were kind of crustacean looking coming out of the back. So it's everything you would want with an alien figure. Now, color scheme wise, I would say that this definitely gets away with almost being pretty much film accurate because it's more of a metallic blue, but I believe that it's as dark a blue as they could possibly get away with. Let's talk about the paint just for a second. With this series, I do believe, and of course it's not been explicitly stated, but I do believe that they're probably under a constraint here, that Walmart is probably not willing to sell movie toys that are based on more of an adult property like Alien in the kids action figure aisle unless there are some substantial changes made. And I think that this was the very least amount of changes that they could possibly get away with for this figure. You can see that we've added some green at the top, which I think is really cool. It's all metallic too, which is nice. And it's very, very blue, but it's deep enough to kind of get away with looking like black a little in the right light. Now, the actual Xenomorphs in the film, they do appear to have some blue highlights on them. I've never been 100% sure if that was actually like embedded into the color of the suits or what, but there definitely are some blue highlight moments for the aliens. As a matter of fact, if I take my studio light and I kind of divert it a little bit, you can see that it already kind of has the effect of turning it black. So in the right light, it won't look this, super metallic-y and super blue like you're seeing with full studio light. So I think that it could be a really easy cheat to say that, oh yeah, it's totally film accurate in color. all of the aliens have some kind of join point here on the heads, and this one has the very best, most least noticeable one. And it's just right here at the middle of the mouth. You could barely tell it was there because of the dark color, so it gets away with it much better than these two guys do. Also, you can see that we have plenty of articulation. The head just rotates. It doesn't go up and down or anything. We can see that we have a great hinge here on the shoulder. We can go way up, go way down to the body. You can go all the way around. There's a rotation at the elbow. We can see that it's almost 90 degrees, but it gets away with what it needs to. We can see that there is kind of a ball joint at the wrist, but there's not really anything you can really much do with it. It's more of just a rotation point. Down here, we have an excellent diaphragm joint. Check this out. You can go really far down and really far back. And for a budget figure, you can even go side to side. That's incredible. We can see down here at the hips that the legs do this really cool thing where you actually have quite a bit of range to flex them out, which kind of alleviates the need for a swivel right here at the upper thigh. We can go out about that far, so it doesn't really do the splits that far out. But the biggest probably limitation is it can't really go up that much. I would think almost that it would definitely go up more, but it's like it's being limited by the sculpt up here. I wish they had hollowed out this pelvis area just a little bit more to where this could go up further. We can see that we also get a pretty good single joint that does 90 degrees or a little more. And we have a pretty good ball joint here at the ankles that can kind of rotate around. It's not a hinge or anything, and it's certainly not a rocker, but it does well enough to where if you want to get the feet flat, you can kind of work with those thighs, and you can actually get the feet flat down in pretty wide stances. So I actually think that that's pretty admirable. We even get a rotation at the tail, but not a ball joint. So I think overall that this really does the job, and the articulation is very serviceable, especially considering that it is a $10 figure. And may we not forget, the jaw even opens. Check it out. On the inside, you can even see the impression of the inner jaw that it would use to attack its victims. In terms of accessories, you get this. This is from the film. You remember that Hicks and some of the others are looking at these in the lab. I've always imagined that as the colonists were overwhelmed by the xenomorphs, that they began to study some of the facehuggers that they would find to try to figure out some weaknesses and try to save themselves. And that's how they ended up in these tubes. Now check it out. This even pops open right here, and this guy comes right out. So he goes great with all the other facehuggers that we get in this collection. And I think the detail's absolutely immaculate and probably way better than it had to be. It even flexes a little bit here at the tail. So if you want to coil this around another figure of a similar scale, you can, but I'm going to keep it here in this kind of stasis tube because I think it looks great and it definitely puts me in the mind of the movie. And I would love getting a bunch of these tubes just for diorama pieces in the background. So that's awesome. So let's look at some comparisons. With this figure, it's extra fun because the alien from Aliens is much more versatile as an army builder. Unlike these two guys back here that there was only one of in their respective films, there are dozens upon dozens, if not hundreds, of these guys that are implied to be in the 1986 Aliens film. So let's go ahead and look at one of NECA's Alien Warriors. This is the one that was done with brown highlights. I realized they did one with blue highlights, and you can see quite obviously that this is in a much smaller scale and this is in a much larger scale. We have more of a 7-inch scale over here, more of a 6-inch scale here, but it is funny to see these guys together. And I think that it's quite obvious, of course, this is a collector's company that has done this, and it's more of a toy company that's done this. But I really think that for what you get for $10, I mean, that's pretty incredible what they were able to do. Speaking of NECA, I think it's pretty fun to actually have a look at some of our Marines. So I got two of my favorite figures of all time with this guy. And I think the Marines look pretty good, really. You've got Hudson and Hicks here. And I think that really it's not too hard of a sell. I know that it's probably a little smaller than it ought to be, but here's the thing. When you're actually looking at some of the behind-the-scenes stuff of the 1986 Aliens, and it's showing Jim Cameron getting everything ready, a lot of the guys who are in the Xenomorph Warrior costumes, they're not huge like the guy who was in the Big Chap costume. It's not meant to be so much larger than the Marines. And I think that that's probably indicative that in the diversity of Hadley's Hope and the colony, probably a lot of the xenomorphs are kind of smaller because they're derived from smaller people. So I actually think having a big bunch of these guys around for your Marines to fight actually wouldn't be bad at all, and it wouldn't look weird or anything. Especially, I mean, consider that if you had a bunch of these guys in the background and you had your Marines, you know, like looking at them like this. I mean, it works spectacularly. So if you find that after this review goes up that there's a huge run on these guys at your local Walmart because everybody's buying them up to put with their NECA figures, don't blame me. It's just a fact of life. All right, okay? Oh yeah, and don't forget, stay frosty. Of course, we have to get Bishop in on the action. Show you here that Bishop works really well, even better than those guys do, because he's a little bit shorter. So it works really beautifully to get him in on it too. I may be synthetic, but I'm not stupid. But I think the real joy in these things might be putting your Kenner Tribute figures with them. Unfortunately, I don't have the very rare Kenner Tribute Vasquez, and there's still a couple of more of those guys I need to get. But I mean, once you get Apone in here from the Kenner Tribute stuff with the no bugs, I mean, this is great looking. If I were you, this is definitely the Kenner Tribute alien that I would want to go with these guys. And don't forget, you can have some serious fun if you get out your Dutch Schaefer here from the arcade game. So you can see that they look really cool together. And just like in that original arcade, if you want them to face off with each other, it's a great fit. One of the more important scale comparisons we could do is with the Alien Queen, because of course this is the film that the Queen is featured in. And you can see that it's actually a really, really good fit. I think the scale is just right, actually. It's actually a much better scale than we had with the 3 3/4 version that Lanard released. And this is much more accurate to what we see in the film. Now, check this out. One of the most fun comparisons that we could do is with the original 3 3/4 scale version that Lanard did. Now, you can see, obviously, that it's the exact same sculpt, just done to a smaller scale. The only difference is the painted details are much darker here, and there's a little bit of green on the head, versus down here where it's straight electric blue. Now, one thing is that we don't have a hinged jaw, but that is the only extra point of articulation. And we can see that by the top of the head that we are almost to the 7-inch mark. So really, you get a very substantial figure for what it is. So if there's one sentiment that I've echoed throughout all of these 6-inch Alien series reviews from Lanard, it's that the value on these things are absolutely incredible for what you get. I really think that this is one of the best values in the toy aisle. Not only do you get some really great articulation that actually does approach what some of the better collector companies are doing, but you also get plenty of sculpted detail that really wasn't even necessary or even expected for this line. Lanard clearly knows what they're doing, and I believe are definitely made up of some serious Aliens fans who wants to do this franchise justice. Not only is this a very close color scheme to the actual film counterpart, I'm actually quite surprised that they were allowed to even get this close, considering this toy line is meant to be sold in the toy aisle along with other kind of younger collectors' toy lines. So I can't suggest this guy enough. I think that he appeals to a great many collectors, and if there's one that you see out, I would say that this one will be the one that people are definitely much more likely to army build. Not only because it has a more film accurate color, but because these aliens by their nature are the ones that there would probably be multiples of. Whereas in the films, you have in Alien 3 and the first Alien, there's only one of each of those creatures. In this one, of course, there are tons upon tons of alien warriors. So this one will definitely be the one that's the most popular with army builders like myself. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Of course, you'll want to subscribe to the channel so that you can check out all of my Alien reviews. And the way that you can be the first to know about those reviews is to subscribe and, of course, hit that bell for notifications. So, guys, thank you so much for being a part of our channel and watching today. And listen, be safe out there. God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Take care. Fanboy out. Game over, man. Ah!